everybody, and are you ready for the biggest drop list of all time?
Boom.
Stay tuned. Welcome back, Gainers, to another incredible, exciting, fantastic episode of ComicGains. And if you're new to the show, I'm Adam.
I'm Zach, and this is Princess of Royal Highness, looking very lovely, just like usual, doing that princess wave. You do it too. Loud and respect, and of course, there's a Cocoa Dog. The New Year's Cocoa.
Oh, she made it. All right, guys. Welcome to the very first show of 2024. Welcome, all you gainers, to 2024. And it's Monday. It's a new year. And we have an extra special drop list for you guys. First time ever, the Gains crew calculated the worst books of 2023. And we narrowed it down to the top 10 books that the bed this year. And and it's exciting. All of these books are dropped over 70%. I just want to say ahead of time, we apologize to anybody who purchased these on the high. But before we get into the biggest drop list of the year, we got to muscle up a little bit. We got to get some protein in the belly before we take this big hit.
Yeah, 40 grams of protein. Muscle Milk, the leading brand of muscle milk. By Muscle Milk.
For Muscle Milk.
It's chocolate peanut butter. I don't know if it's the leading brand, but it tastes pretty dang good. And I don't remember if I actually tried this one.
There's nothing that goes better with chocolate, right?
Yeah.
Than peanut butter?
Yeah.
Maybe vanilla? Chocolate, but no, I'm just kidding. Chocolate vanilla?
Everything goes with peanut butter and chocolate. Well, even bananas, coconuts.
Cherries.
Oh, wait, I gotta shake it. Wait, I want to see if it's...
Shake weight.
Oh, I gotta shake it.
It's got a lid on that one?
No, no. It just,
sometimes they have a lid, sometimes they don't, which is weird, right?
Like a cover, a secondary cover, but no, it doesn't on this one. I think the other brand does. You know, what's it called? Lifestyle?
Moo milk? Moo!
It's pretty good. It's
pretty tasty.
Yeah, I like it. Nice little, almost like slightly on the verge of burnt peanut butter flavor. It's kind of nice.
You know what else is slightly on the verge of burnt peanut butter flavor? Hanging out with the Gainers crew on Whatnot every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Adam and Zach kick the show off first with dollar starts, 30-second auctions. And if you stay up just a little bit later, Princess hosts her very own show where if you've been asking yourself this whole time, when is she going to talk? Well, it's on that show at 6 p.m. where there's also dollar starts, 30-second auctions with some legendary polls to go along with it. All right, guys. Let's kick. This is a bigger list, so it's going to be 10 books. So hopefully you guys all make it to the end. And like I said ahead of time, I apologize to anybody who bought any of these books on the high end. We have quite a few of these books, which I don't know, to be happy about that or upset about it. Maybe a little bit of both. So, you know how that goes. You know how it goes, guys. But let's kick it off. And there's a tie for 10, but we just did it in this order. So number 10 on the list is Ultimate Fallout 4, The Ratio, 1:25, which came out in 2011. It's Brian Michael Bendis, and the ratio cover is done by Marko Djevik, which is a connecting cover, so all the Ultimate Fallout series all connect. This is pretty much the only famous one out of the group, but they're all Djevik covers, which is cool. And this is the first appearance of Miles Morales as Spider-Man. We've talked about this before. It's an interesting story. It's just a little tidbit of his first battle in costume. It's not really his origin. They don't get into the origin until Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 1. And this book got hot again over this last year with Across the Spider-Verse. Obviously took off originally with Into the Spider-Verse a few years back. And this is an interesting one for sure. This book at certain heights got up to $40,000 in a 9.8, which is crazy. And I personally would have told you a couple years ago this was a good investment book. You know, I didn't think it would drop this far. I thought, the way books were going, if you're going to get these really scarce ratios of really good keys, I still think regular Ultimate Fallout 4 is probably overpriced for what it is, considering that there's a lot of these out there. But the ratio I thought would have held its ground a little bit more, but I think Zach will get you more numbers, but it might be because there's too many 9.8s out there is maybe why it's dropped a little bit. But Zach will give you the real numbers, but this is the number 10 book on the list.
Yeah, it was an ultimate winner, if you saw it this time. A year ago was $43,200. Now you can pick one up for $12,860. Range $12,860 to $43,200. Average sale is $28,860. It's a 70% drop. There's 916 total graded. 186 of them are 9.8 universal. That's a pretty good ratio right there. But I actually didn't put the ratio in numbers. But oh well, this is the top 10. Anyways, so or the bottom 10, whatever 10. It's a bad 10. It's a bad 10. Yeah, but it's a decent book. It's a decent book. It's I'm never gonna have one in a 9.8. I have no interest. I would just want the regular cover, to be honest. Maybe the newsstand if I can, finagle one out if it's at the right price. But yeah, it should have never been at $43,000. Not anytime soon. That's the price of a big Silver Age Grail. Pretty decent. Not the biggest Grail, but a big Silver Age Grail. I'd rather have a big Silver Age Grail. Not the biggest, a big Silver Age Grail.
Yeah, I know a lot of people over the past couple years have been making that comparison. Like, would you rather spend $40,000 on a 9.8 Djevik, or would you rather spend $40,000 on a really nice Silver Age book? It may not be a 9.8, but it could be a lasting long. I mean, you can get a decent Amazing Fantasy 15 for $40,000 now. Which one would you rather have? Ask yourself that. Which may be why this book went back down to its normal price, because yeah, I would rather have a Silver Age book than this book for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe most of you would say the same thing. All right. Tied at number 10, but we'll say number 9. We got Invincible Iron Man number 9, 2016. Brian Michael Bendis again, Mike Deodato Jr. And this is probably, of all the books on the list, the one I didn't want to be in the bottom 10. I wish this book wasn't. Maybe have an answer why it was, but this is first appearance of Riri Williams in the prototype armor. So there is 2 keys that go along with this. Issue 7 is first Riri. Issue 9 is her in the first armor. This is the more sought after key. We did get Wakanda Forever, the movie, where we got to see Dominique Thorne play Riri Williams in the movie. Did an awesome job. I think overall the movie was a success. I would say some people were maybe 50-50 on it, but I think overall, of the movies that have come out lately, I was happy with that movie after seeing it. I think she was definitely a bright part of that movie. Unfortunately, her book has taken a huge hit. Even after we know she's getting her own solo series, Ironheart, whether that's going to be a movie or a TV show. I think that the fact that Robert Downey Jr. wants to come back, it'll probably switch to a movie so he can get more money, which also means she might not be the main star of the movie as she maybe originally was supposed to be. It's hard to say. I can tell you from this point, she's a cool character, but comic-wise, if you're going to compare her to like Kamala Khan, who did not make this list, I'll give you a hint right off the bat, did not make this list. She's not as big a prominent character. Like, Kamala's had much more of her own solo titles, actually multiple, and is a much bigger character, and I think better written in the comics. Riri is important, but she's only had a few of her own maybe one solo title, and hasn't been in very much stuff lately, I can tell you, in the recent years. So that might be why her keys are kind of dropping off a little bit. And we'll see. I guarantee you when the movie/TV show comes out, we'll definitely get a solo Riri book. They always do that. And that all kind of depends on who writes it, whether or not it'll be good. But let's check out those. Oh, don't forget there is the Chris Turcata variant, which is still pretty expensive. I probably took a hit as well. Didn't quite make the list, but Zach will hit you with them real numbers, though.
It was taken off a year ago at $258 for a 9.8. Now it's $132. Range 96 to a high of 440. Average sales 202. It's about a 70% drop from the highest to the most recent sale. There's 3,563 total graded, 1,432 are 9.8 universals. It's a good book to get at $132. You're gambling a little bit, but it's going to be a somewhat major modern key. Somewhat major. Not massively major. Not Jonathan no. But yeah, it's going to be a decent key. I mean, $132, I mean, you can't be mad at that price. You could be mad at the price if you spent $400 sometime last year. This year, I guess. But, $132, don't be mad about that.
Yeah. Like I said, out of all the books on the list, this is the one I wish wasn't on there, because I think it still has some respect. A little too low for what it should be. All right, let's get to number 8. And there's a bunch of ties for number 8. There's 3 books that tie, but we'll just put them in this order for the sake of reasoning. But we talked about this recently. We got Spider-Man India Number 1 makes the list, 2005. And these names are hard, but Javon King and Shares Sirathaman, hopefully I said that right, the creators of this book. They originally, it's basically the first appearance of Spider-Man India, and this is a reprint of a comic that came out in India, which basically retold the story of Peter Parker in basically an Indian format over in their country, which is cool. I think it's a really good idea for like another group of people to experience Spider-Man in their own way with their names that they are more familiar with and areas and culture that they're more familiar with, which is exciting. He took off. He played a major role in the Spider-Verse comic series, which I think was cool. I remember reading him in that. He was a fun character. He kind of started as a coward and turned into like a more prominent role and didn't die when a lot of the other Spider characters got killed. And last year we got to see him in Across the Spider-Verse. He kind of took over as more of the comedic role from like Peter Porker, Fat Spider-Man, or Spider-Man Noir. Did he do as good a job as those three? Probably not. I still like the original 3 comedic role in the first movie better than him, but he did okay. This book was really expensive leading up to all this hype with him becoming more of a main character and more people knowing about him. So obviously this book is older, 2005, and he didn't really start getting popular until about 5 years ago. So that's a pretty big jump there. But from my own experience in reading this character and his books, he's kind of boring. His story is basically identical to our Peter Parker, just slight differences in names and things like that, which I don't think is cool enough, to have a long stay. They just put out a new book for him that came out in 2023, this last year. I read the whole thing. I thought it was boring for the most part all the way through, and I didn't hear anybody talking about it. So maybe I'm in the minority on that, but I didn't think it was that good. And that may be why his book took a huge dive, and probably why it's number 8. Zach will get you more on those numbers, though.
It was Hollywood a year ago at $286 for a CGC 9.8. Now it's Bollywood. $105, you can get a 9.8. Hollywood's pretty good. Who knows? But $105 to $365 is the range over a year. $267 is the average sale. It's a 71% drop from the most recent sale to the highest sale. There's 713 total graded. 307 of them are 9.8 universals. $105 for this book. Not a bad price. I've said this before. You probably want to match it with the actual original issue that came out in India, I guess. That'd be kind of cool to have them side by side. But yeah, $105, not a bad price. I mean, he's going to be back into the Edge of the Spider-Verse movie or whatever Spider-Verse movie. Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
And yeah, I would think it would be a good price at $105. Once again, good time to buy.
Yeah, I mean, there's still money to be made on this book. Zach's definitely right. There's another movie coming out. He will be in it. I'm sure he'll be one of the main characters. It just kind of depends, considering this book was like $1,000 in a 9.8. Now like $100 is crazy. That's crazy talk. Crazy talk. Speaking of crazy talk, we got number 7 on the list, and I could have told you this would have made this could have made the crap to bed list twice last year too. Black Panther issue number 3, 2022. Alex Ross, John Ridley, first appearance of Tosin. He is a character that has vibranium tattoos that give him extra power. He's also part of a group of Wakandans that kind of shun using vibranium for like greater technology. I haven't personally read all of this. I've read some of it. I've been told it's a really good story. He's a really interesting character, really fun. This book was probably way too expensive right out the gate. Like it was like within the first couple of weeks, it was a $40 book. I'm not sure why, because everybody could get their hands on it. It was everywhere. Confusing, and then it held its money for a while. People were like, okay, this is a legit key. And then it dropped down quite a bit. And last year we had Wakanda Forever came out, and they introduced T'Challa's new son, which his name for some reason sounded really close to Tosin, even though it wasn't. He's not the same character at all, but it shot the book up a little bit more. And I think in the more recent years, it has come back down to where it should be, because people are realizing there's a lot of them. There's a bunch of them out there. A lot of people got them graded already. A bunch of them came back 9.8. So I don't know why you would pay I think at one point it was like $100 for a raw copy for this book. Yeah, I feel sorry for anyone that paid that much. There is a 1 in 25 Torn Clark as well, which some people thought that might have been a good investment book. I'm pretty sure that one also has taken a huge dive as well. And it's hard to say, you know, John Ridley wrote this character in this story, and if nobody else continues to use him in any future stories, he will continue to go away into nothingness. It just depends. This run is over, so if the next person uses this character or someone down the line, we may never see Tosin again, you know, so it's kind of hard to say. And it's never been in a movie. There's no speculation that he's going to be in a movie, so this is a tough one, but Zach will give you them real numbers.
Price a year ago for CGC 9.8 was $149. Now it sells for about $59 for 9.8. Range is $43 to $200. 108 is the average. It's about a 71% drop from the highest it sold in the year to most recent sale. There's 1,878 CGC 1,878 total graded. 1,565 of them are 9.8s. Majority of them are 9.8s. Tosin could be a cool character, but only time will tell whether they're going to use him anymore. I mean, for him to only come out in an issue, maybe be used a handful of times, I mean, it doesn't give him enough potential to have a fan following, and that's what you need for big books to go crazy. You need an X-Men following, you need an Avengers following, you need blah blah blah, and that's why those big keys are big keys, because everybody freaking wants them because they love it. It's nostalgia. Tosin, maybe a one-hit wonder, and not even a good one. Who knows? But for $59, it's worth a gamble.
Yeah, you never know. All someone needs to do is use him in another good story, and you know, he'll be cemented in time. But we'll have to see how that goes if he ever shows up again. All right, number 6 on the list, and if this tells you anything, this is the oldest book on the list, which is interesting. Interesting, because we did research a lot of Silver Age books, and none of them made the list. We researched a bunch of Silver Age books that we thought may have made the drop list, and none of them made the top 10. So if that tells you anything, it's West Coast Avengers 45, 1989.
Oh no.
John Byrne cover, as well as John Byrne's story. And it's a great cover, homage to the original first appearance of Vision, which is an awesome cover. This is the first white Vision who was reassembled without programming. So he basically has like no personality. The original red Vision had some personality. The white one does not. And this book started to get popular when they had the WandaVision TV show came out, and obviously we got to see White Vision even earlier before that, the end of Avengers Endgame, when the crystal was pulled out of his head. You actually got the stone. They call it the stone. The stone was pulled out of his head. He actually turned kind of like white gray Vision right before he died, so you got like a little hint that was probably going to happen. And yeah, I mean, I always thought this was a really cool book. I think years ago it got some huge hype. It started to like kind of touch on that, like, I don't say blue chip key, but close to that. It was like on the rim of going towards blue. And I remember we were hunting one time and we came across this book, and I was like, whoa, there's one there, and I've never had one before. It was really cool. And the guy who was an older collector just gave it to us. He was like, hey, you know, this isn't going to be a big book. And he's like, here you go, take the book. And we were like, oh my God. Little did we know he was right, because it went back down to basically being worth nothing. Last year, there was some hint that Vision Quest TV show or movie might come out. I kind of feel like that's not going to happen. But we're going to see him again. He's definitely, the White Vision's definitely there. He's going to show up in some form or fashion. But this book isn't old enough. There's too many copies out there, I would say. It seems like it's hard to get a 9.8. We've gotten a couple graded and they never came back in 9.8. But the numbers are probably back to where they should have been. Paul Bettany's killing it. I would watch that guy in anything. Amazing actor. But the numbers is what we came here for. So
yeah, a year ago, could just go about through everything and anything like Visions. That's one of Vision's power. Haha. And it was a $400 for a CGC 9.8. Now he can barely even get out the front door. $114 for a 9.8. Range 114 to 400. Average sales 233. 71% drop. From 114 to 400. Yeah, that's pretty bad. Or from 400 to 114, I should say. There's 2,354 total graded. 278 of them are 9.8s. So it is pretty hard to get a 9.8 in this book.
Yeah, I was going to say, it seems like we've sent in a couple and they both came back 9.6. And they look clean. I tell you.
Iconic cover, obviously, because like Avengers 57, it's That's iconic. I believe that's the issue.
I think you're right. Yep.
I mean, it would go along well with the original copy, side by side. It looks pretty nice. Homage cover, and you know how homage covers do pretty well in the aftermarket. So maybe it's down now. It's not going to be down for long. It's not going to be probably the book that everybody was going after in 2021 or 2022, whatever year it was. But it's going to be sought after. It's going to be, people will want to get it, if that makes sense. People want to get it, but it'll be like, you get the choice between this book and this book of the same kind of level. They might just pick the other book than this book. You know, it's not a super major key, if that makes sense.
Yeah. When I was a kid, I always thought Vision was white. You know, I didn't realize there was a red Vision. You know, when I was younger, around that time when he was the white Vision, I was like, oh, I just thought he was always the white. Because I saw the video games I played, and he was always the white Vision. Yeah. And I learned later on he was originally the red Vision. Interesting. All right, number 5 on the list. We're halfway through. From here on out, none of these are ties. These are the real crappers to finish out the list. We got Champions number 1, 2016. Mark Waid, Humberto Ramos. Awesome team up. That's a great team to work together. First appearance of the team champions. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Kid Nova. We've got Amadeus Cho, Viv, and Young Cyclops.
Okay.
Had little Young Cyclops on there. So this is kind of an interesting book. There was a point where everything was getting really expensive, and then it started to get like team appearances were the next best thing. If you couldn't afford their first appearances, then you were looking for like first meetings and first teams, and books started getting crazy. And this is one of those things where a lot of people were like, which young team are they going to do in Marvel? Is it going to be Young Avengers? Is it going to be Champions? There was like this back and forth, like this team, that team, this team, that team. And during that time, Champions kind of slowly went down and lower and lower and lower, and to the point where this like is barely a key anymore. I think like you could probably almost find this in a dollar bin. At one time was a pretty decent book. I mean, it's not quite a dollar bin book, but I can tell you I've read a lot of it, and it's really good. It's really good if you get the chance to read Champions. The interaction between all the characters is really awesome. But I think the way the MCU is going, it's definitely going to be Young Avengers. I mean, we're going to have Kamala on the Young Avengers team, which she's technically part of the Champions, but I don't think we'll really get anybody else. It'll basically be the Young Avengers and Kang and that and Kamala, and that's what it's going to be. And besides the fact that if we don't get Strange Academy, someone at Marvel MCU Studios is crazy. So how many young kid teams are we going to have? It's probably not going to see Champions. If we don't get Strange Academy, someone's stupid. Because that's like, it's basically written for a TV show. It's perfect. It's perfect. So, I don't know. Champions, just to get you need Miles to make Champions work. You need Amadeus Cho and that kind of stuff. Then they haven't even really shown up yet. So I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, it's a fun book. Read the series. I recommend it. I don't think it's anything worth investing in at all, any way, shape, or form. And Zach will get you the numbers maybe to reassure you on that.
Maybe or maybe not. It was first place a year ago at $66 for a 9.8. Now it's definitely last place at $47. Range $18 to $165. Average sale is 48. 72% drop from the highest it's sold in a year to now. There's 1,900 total graded. 1,494 of them are 9.8s. That's a lot.
Holy crap.
Majority of them. Yeah.
You get a 9.8 and you get a 9.
It's not hard to get a 9.8 in this book, and that's why the value of it is pretty low. They've made a lot of them. A lot of people got them graded, and you know they graded easily. It's a new book. They should get a 9.8. So I mean, you can try getting this book. It's a cool cover. You know, it's probably a good story.
Really good story.
Cheap price.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. You're going to be sleeping on it, but. Could be wrong.
Yeah, it's a bad sign when I remember selling this book for $47 raw, and now a 9.8 is the same price. That's a really bad sign. The sign at the end is near. All right, guys. Number 4 on the list, and a personal favorite of the princess. She donated a book for the show today. We got Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, number 1, 2016. Amy Reeder, Brandon Montclair, and probably the coolest team up in the history of Marvel Comics that anyone would ever thought. Like, let's take a old Bronze Age dinosaur that was goofy, and let's team it up with Moon Girl, which this is her first appearance, Lunel Lafayette, and it was a cool idea. I know the original series, this series is considered a really good read. There's a lot of sought after keys in this series because people really enjoyed the first run. I don't think, as far as I know, they haven't really done anything good with her after this. They've tried. She has a couple team up books, a couple other things after that, but some of the stuff I read was just kind of mediocre. She's a fun character. I really enjoy young heroes. When you're reading them, they're a little more like wide-eyed. They haven't seen the world yet, so everything's new to them. So you're kind of seeing it through their reading, and it's fun and exciting. And Double Dinosaur is kind of like the coolest pet that you always wanted, you know, and it's really like her like good friend, and it's really exciting. This book, for some reason, somebody at Marvel let everybody know they were going to use this character, because I don't know why anybody would have guessed that. They were like, this book was expensive for years. For like the last 4 years, it was really expensive. It's like everyone's like, for sure we're going to do something with Moon Girl and Double Dinosaur. Well, they did, and they probably picked like the worst idea ever. Like, I don't know why they didn't get the guys who made like Into the Spider-Verse to create the cartoon if they were going to do that for this and actually make a decent one. But for some reason they got like the guys from Dexter's Laboratory to make this cartoon, and it was like, I only could stomach one episode before I was like, okay, this is trash. And it basically ruined the character. And I would doubt we're going to see her again anytime soon in the regular Marvel Universe, but it's hard to say. Like I said, I know the original run is very, very liked, and there's some good keys that go along with it. There's the 1 in 25 Trevor Vaughn, which is still an exciting book, dropped quite a bit as well. The second print has more value than the first print, which is exciting as well. There's a hip-hop cover. Princess will tell you is cool. And they handed out a free comic at New York City Comic Con of this one, promoting the cartoon, which is actually pretty, I think, the most expensive out of all of them. So you may want to keep your eyes open for that one if you like it, but I don't know. It's definitely on the drop list. It's a big crapper. Zach will get you the real numbers though.
Price a year ago, it was actually modern pricing, $242 for CDC 9.8. Now it's prehistoric at $62 for a 9.8.
Oh, whoa!
Range $62 to $290. Average sale 167 to 79% drop. There's 1,734 total graded. 774 of them are 9.8. It's universal. Its iconic cover is a key appearance. The show shall be disregarded.
Yeah.
Shall not be spoken of ever again. $62 for 9.8. I'd probably buy a couple copies.
Yeah.
I think it's a significant character.
Good character,
and
very good.
Fun, kind of something that they can play on the story. I definitely would pick a better writer, voice actors and actresses, and all of the above and below different than that show. That's an example of a show how not to do it. Don't watch it. Don't watch it.
The Star Wars Christmas special of the Marvel Universe.
But they released a full season of it.
Oh, God.
What were they thinking?
Where's the test audience on this one? All right, guys, it came down to the final three. Woo! Who's gonna be stinking up the room in here? Let's start out with number 3. Big surprise: Young Avengers #1, 2005. Jim Chang and Alan Heinberg. Yeah, big book. For a long time, they called this the modern giant-size X-Men. Yeah, a lot of people. Giant-size X-Men, modern, right here. First team appearance, and a lot of first appearance. You got Kate Bishop, the Patriot, Asgardian, also known as Wiccan, Hulkling, Iron Lad. And yeah, this just was for a long time a huge book. A lot of people are speculating on this thing going somewhere. The read is amazing. It's a very well written out story. It's not like someone had some crap idea and just kind of like did issue by issue. Someone had a really long drawn out idea and they were like, this is where it's going to start. This is where it's going to end. Every issue is really good. They introduced a lot of characters that people wanted to use going forward. Like Kate Bishop is super successful. Hulkling's been a big deal. Iron Lad's a good twist on Kang. It's all like a perfect storm to go somewhere. For some reason, I don't know why it's gotten so cheap. I don't know. This is kind of like, I can guess, because a book that's 2005 is like kind of old enough, but not quite new. It's strange it's gotten this cheap. I know with all the stuff with Jonathan Majors screwed up the King stuff, will this actually turn out the same way? I think this is a good way to switch it all up. Maybe just add, because like Iron Lad has to be a younger character, so we can just put in like a brand new guy anyways, and just like switch it from there. Might be a good idea, but it's just it's a tough one. And I think the biggest difference between this book and Giant Size X-Men #1 is you introduce a lot of cool characters, but the story is if you read the story, it's kind of finite and sort of ends at the end of the series. It doesn't really need any more issues after that, which they put the characters elsewhere, which is cool. Kate Bishop does a really good job on her solo title, but like X-Men was kind of like, here's the new team, and then there's like the story could go on for like 20, 50 more years, and that's cool. I don't think Young Avengers had that same sort of thing. It was kind of like Heroes season 1. That's all you needed. You don't really need any more after that. Maybe why that's, Hulkling and Wiccan, they've used quite a bit more. I think they're kind of fun characters in their own way, so very original, but it's hard to say. I don't feel like this book should be this low. I'm disappointed. It was very expensive at one time.
They were having the time of their lives, their useful lives, a year ago. $455 for a CGC 9.8. Now, $300. A little bit of a drop. Range? Something went crazy. Someone got one for as cheap as $40. That must have been a fluke. To as high, potentially a big fluke, $1,599. Those are the numbers, guys. Average sale is $357, 81% drop from the highest to current sale. Ridiculous. There's 5,804 total graded, 2,342 of them are 9.8 universal. So there's a lot of them. With this key, a modern key, I don't think it had the largest print run, but they have a lot of them graded now.
Probably not in 05, yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like there shouldn't be that many graded 9.8s out there, but there's over 2,000 of them. So this is a book that probably has pretty good paper quality. It probably was immediately bagged and boarded. And of course, of the hype, everybody and their mother sent one in. So I think this book does have legs. I think it probably should be like a $400 book in a 9.8, but because of everything that's happened in the last year and how long it takes for it to be spec'd on, I mean, obviously people have a big love for all the new characters, mostly all the new characters in Young Avengers, and they're going to eventually have a teenage team in the Marvel universe. So it's most likely going to be Young Avengers, like Adam said. So this book is a good spec book. I mean, I'd rather get a raw copy and get this one graded, save a little bit, because it's still pretty high for a 9.8. I mean, if it was $100-something, I'd say keep on buying it as many as you can. Something's going to come of it. But in this case, because it's so easy to get a 9.8, apparently, I would just get a nice raw copy, send it in, spend probably $125 with the raw copy and plus the grading fees, and maybe pre-screen and just hedge your bets.
Yeah, I mean this book used to be so expensive. I remember when we got that 9.6, we were happy about it, which would never be the case nowadays. When it was like, all right, this is like a $1,500 book, and a 9.6 is still like $700-800, but not anymore. No, we came back down to the real world. All right, number 2 on the list, and this is probably the only book on the list I don't know that much about, so I'll do my best to explain it. We have Oblivion Song, number 1, 2018, so a relatively new book. This is done by Robert Kirkman, so obviously a brilliant writer, and Lorenzo Di Felici. Put this book together. It recently ended in 2022, I think on 36 issues, so it is wrapped up if you want to read it. I've heard good things, that it's actually a really good, I mean, almost everything I've read of Robert Kirkman's is pretty much good. Firepower was a little weird for me, but most everything I've read was really good. From what I could tell of this storyline, they basically took 300,000 people from the city of Philadelphia, and they got transported into this apocalyptic wasteland called Oblivion, and I'm not really sure. Apparently there's a main character that can travel maybe back and forth between Oblivion into the regular world, and everyone else is trapped in this Oblivion world. So it's Robert Kirkman, post-apocalyptic. How can you go wrong there? It got a lot of hype because Jake Gyllenhaal, I guess either bought the rights to it and wanted to produce it. And a lot of times when Jake Gyllenhaal produces something, he also likes to star in it, which is easy because he just gets to pick himself as the main character, which is fun. Which I love Jake Gyllenhaal in pretty much everything, even the bad stuff. I still like him. What was that one, like Prince of Persia? I still like that movie, even though most people will say it's pretty bad.
I actually liked it.
I liked it. It was good, and I will watch anything with him in it. But this is definitely, and this will probably touch on the number one book as well. Be careful which indie books you spec on, because it is like a 1 in 1,000, maybe even worse odds than that the book you buy is going to turn out to be a major key. And it's just, you got like your Something's Killing the Children, Invincible, Walking Dead. There's very few other ones out there that make those kind of numbers that still are worth money, Last of Us, that kind of stuff. But you could think there's probably like 100 to 250 new indie titles that come out every year, and all of them pretty much go by the wayside. So just be careful what you're putting your money into. I will tell you, there's a couple of things to look out for. Zach will tell you there's a special pink signature version of this book that is hard to tell. So keep your eye for that one. It's worth significantly more. And there's a cool foil edition that a lot of you might not know about. It was actually handed out with a rare statue, and you had to buy a statue, and then they handed you this like foil edition of the book that's worth a little bit of money. But time will tell. I'm not sure if this movie or TV show is even ever going to be made. Probably will. I'm assuming it will. But I don't know if the book will ever go anywhere, especially if it's a movie. I feel like movies don't do anything for books. TV shows do, but movies are, it's a one and done. You get that preview, the book gets a little bump, and then the movie's over, and then it goes back down. I don't know. Numbers, though? Is it the Oblivion numbers?
We went out into planet space, and we started telling a story that has nothing to do about that. Anyways, prices a year ago for a CDC 9.8 was $50. Now it's $36. Range sold for as little as $5 for a 9.8 to as high as $200.
Good God.
Average sale $42. It's 82% drop from its high sold to its most recent sale. There's 1,891 total graded. There's 1,605 9.8 universals.
It's like the perfect color for a 9.8. That tan color.
Yeah, so, I mean, you buy one, see what happens. Nothing happens, you only spend like $36. Or even cheaper, sometimes even $5. Jeez. But, I mean, it has potential. I mean, if it ends up being like a Oscar award-winning movie when it comes out, I mean, it's going to have some lasting legs. Probably not very long legs, but it's definitely going to be worth more than $36. But, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be bad to pick one up. I mean, I think I had a couple raw copies at one point. I don't know where they are.
Yeah, I could tell you, like, when we're digging in books, and I'll pull this one out of a $5 bin, and I'll look over at Zach, I'm like, should we get this? And he's like, that may be a good sign. Not go for this one. I'm like, do we want this for $5? He's like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, there's books that you pull out, it's like, should I get this? Like, yes. And then there's books like,
I know this is a key, but we need this key.
If they gave it to us, we'd take it. But other than that, no.
All right, guys, you made it to the end. The biggest turd of the year, 2023. We got Paper Girls. Number 1, 2015, Cliff Chang, Brian K. Vaughan, the brilliant Brian K. Vaughan. And I will admit, I've read a lot about this. I haven't really read the series at all. I've been told this comic book series is amazing from pretty much everyone who's read it. Says it's an awesome book. I'm pretty sure everything Brian K. Vaughan writes is awesome, so I haven't heard anything that he's done is bad. But the quick synopsis of this is a group of girls gets caught in a war between two time-traveling groups of people, and they basically have to shift back and forth through time. They run into their older selves or younger selves. It's a cool story. It takes place in the 80s, which for some reason right now, everybody loves things that takes place in the 80s. The music's cool, the clothing's cool, the way people talk. The fact that there's no cell phones is really exciting. I miss that time. It's just overall like a good thing, and this book was very expensive at a certain point. I know raw copies were going for over $100. I think the covers are really interesting, that like each one looks kind of similar but with like a different sort of pastel color to it, if you want to call it pastel, but the cover's really, really cool. I think someone at Amazon should be shot for the timing on this. It's like ridiculous timing that probably one of the biggest shows of all time came out, Stranger Things, which is very, very similar to this in a lot of ways. And there's very few things you could say is better than Stranger Things. And to make a show that comes out the same year and is literally released the week after the finale of Stranger Things ends, and then they release this right after, and clearly it's not going to be as good. It could be good in its own right, but maybe wait a couple years. I don't know. There's a lot of good actors in this movie as well, or in the TV show, and it just got canceled after the first season. Like, everyone was kind of wore out. They're like, this is literally the crappier version of Stranger Things. Why am I watching this? And that's kind of how I felt. But if you look back now and maybe rewatch the TV show, here are the numbers. It's a 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, and it's an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes for a canceled TV show. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. And obviously great writing, because people have been able to turn some Brian K. Vaughan stuff into some good stuff. But it's one of those things. Be careful. You think you may have hit a home run on some of these indie books, and it's kind of drifted over into a foul ball.
People are accepting newspapers, receiving, ordering, like the Herald or whatever newspaper organization you're a part of. Yeah, for example, everybody was getting a newspaper. A year ago, it was going for $55. And now, people realize you have a thing called the internet. You don't need no paper, stupid. For $40. Range is $21 to $330. $47 is the average sale. It's an 88% drop from the highest it's sold in a year to most recent sale. There's 3,283 total graded. 2,402 are 9.8s. So the problem is, one, the timing. They probably should have waited at least 6 months.
Or longer.
Yeah. Longer. I did watch the show. It was actually pretty good. I'd never finished it, but I did watch it. It was really good, really well written, and everything's in the backgrounds, all the background scenes, everything going on. Pretty fun show. One of the big problems is, honestly, the transfer between the comic name to the TV show. Paper Girls, I saw the comic, I thought it was just girls on a paper route. I'm like, why? Like, and they're like what's it called? A slice of life story. I thought it was a slice of life story. It's like, I'm not gonna read this. So I'm thinking what happened was people says, oh, Paper Girls comes out, Amazon Original. I was like, I don't want you to watch this slice of life crap. And I think that's hurt them quite a bit. They might have considered changing the name a little bit. And that's how you really get those games.
That's his opinion, not mine.
I thought
Paper Girl's a cool name, I think.
I don't know.
They just screwed up. It's an 80s TV show that came out right after a really good 80s TV show. Just no comparison. It's like watching that Lord of the Rings show that came out right after the Dance of the Dragons. Or, what is it?
The Song of Fire and Ice?
Yeah.
Or, what are you talking about? The prequel?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it was called now. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie.
Anyway, I think Zach will give you his number one pick, and then we'll kind of round this out with the final thoughts. Is there anything on here, Zach, that you would consider picking, pulling out of the dung heap, brushing off, cleaning up, and polishing for the 2024 year?
Probably the bargain one, I would say. Let me think about this for a second. The bargain one probably would be Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur 1 probably would be the bargain book. I'd get that. And then West Coast Avengers 45 probably would be the one that you might see some legs on, maybe. Just because it's a nice homage cover. I mean, this list was a little rough.
Yeah. For
a lot of people, I feel sorry if you bought it at the high. If that was your large number you spent on it, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that one. Some final thoughts, though, some takeaways. Like I was saying, we actually put together quite a lot of books to crunch the numbers on this and kind of see which came out. And there was a lot of Silver Age that we put numbers into and see, and nothing came back out. So be careful. Any of the newer books that you're using as like an investment book type, you may want to put your money more into like Silver Age or Golden Age, and take that how it is. If you just like collecting books for collecting books, buy those modern keys, enjoy them for yourself. Don't listen to us on everything, but just saying, like, money-wise, when someone's telling you to like invest in something, even these ratios are not safe at all if it's new. If it's like within the last 30, 40 years, it may not be a good investment at all. It's not enough time. It's not enough time for books to really, and there's too many printed, and like Zach said, there's people kept books in too good a condition where the rarity's not there, where it's like, you look at a Silver Age book and there's like 10 books, or sometimes even less in a 9.8. You're looking at anything modern, there's probably like 1,000 9.8. So like those books will probably for a long time never get to that same price point. If ever in our lifetime. It may 100 years from now, but definitely not in the next 20 to 30. They're not going to reach those Silver Age pricing. I don't think. There's too many of them.
Yeah, scarcity and demand.
Mm-hmm.
Two things you need.
All right, guys. That wraps up the biggest drop list of the year. We want to wish everybody a happy brand new 2024. This was a little bit longer list, but a fun one nonetheless. And if you like hearing these, do us a huge favor this year. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button right after that. Do both of those things right now. Zach will immediately finish his drink. There he goes. And leave a comment down below. Let us know what you think of the biggest drops of the year. And you got anything else, Zach?
Yeah, sure. How you do that is you get a time machine, maybe even a hot tub time machine. Go back in time to 1960, maybe 64. No, maybe 65. And then you can pick up all of the keys you've ever wanted, as long as you bring something of equivalent value to trade for these comics. And then come back immediately and just run around with all the rarest books in the world and just like, whee, all the way home like the little piggies.
That's right. Remember to bring one thing with you.
Yes.
Bag and boards.
Bag and boards.
Bring them back in time.
Mm-hmm. What is this?
What are you doing in my book?
I thought this. Aren't you gonna put them in lunch bags? No lunch bags. No lunch.
Fold them up, put a rubber band around, and I'll keep them safe. All right, guys. Until we see you next time, stay safe and remember.
And get those comic book gains, the Silver Age ones,
Mm-hmm.
maybe even the copper, maybe.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.